Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports. We're live on XTV. You can watch that on your smart TVs and also Dingo TV channel 217. We are everywhere. You can watch us on our Facebook pages on 12 Ounce Sports, the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. You can watch us on our YouTube channels. You can see us everywhere. We are here live on this Wednesday, September the 4th, 2024. How's everybody doing? How was your Labor Day weekend? I know mine was pretty darn good. Got to watch a lot of great college football this weekend, some high school football, and got a day on the lake with some friends. I'll tell you what, it couldn't get much better than that with family and friends. I'll tell you, that's what Labor Day weekend is meant to be all about. All right, everybody, we get a lot to talk about here in the next 58 minutes or so left of the program. We've got NFL Week 1 is finally here. How about that? With that, just can't wait to get the NFL started as we've got a game tomorrow night, Thursday, Kansas City and Baltimore, as they go for their quest for a three-peat, the only three-time defending champion, Super Bowl champions, that is. It'll be the first three-time NFL champion since the Green Bay Packers, 60 years ago, just about. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to watch that to see if they can make the three-peat. And we got a game Thursday night as they take on Baltimore in the rematch of last year's AFC championship game. Then on Friday, yes, we've got a Friday night game in Brazil. It's going to be the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. And just kind of it's just an odd setting over there in Brazil. We'll talk more about it, but it's almost like the players don't want to be there. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes Friday night. It's Green Bay and it's Philadelphia, and it's in Sao Paulo, Brazil on Peacock Friday night. So if you've got Peacock, that's the only way you're going to be able to watch. So we'll talk about that. We've got college football week 1, supposedly. Well, they don't count week 0, I guess. Week 1 in the books, some big winners, some more big losers, some surprise games. I don't know how your favorite team did. Mine they were sluggish on offense, but the defense, they came as advertised, and they put up when they had to with a 30-10 win over Fresno State. So Michigan starts out their defense of their national title with a win over Fresno, but now it gets real tough coming up Saturday when Texas comes calling to Ann Arbor, high noon in Ann Arbor. It's going to be game day for both the 4-letter network and the 3-letter network. And so we'll keep an eye on that. All eyes will be on Ann Arbor in the college football world, but there's other games going on as well. And there was some great games this past weekend. We're going to talk all about that. And of course, Major League Baseball, we'll go through all the standings. Our Detroit Tigers, they're only 4.5 out of the wild card. I know we might be dreaming, but Kansas City's lost 7 in a row. Detroit still got 3 games left with them. They've got some games with the White Sox. Yeah, they've got some games with Oakland. I'm telling you, you're saying there's a chance. Who knows? Detroit's only 4.5 games out of that last wild card spot. They don't have to jump over anybody else now that they're tied with Boston. So they're creeping closer. They got a couple of games left out on the West Coast with San Diego, who's trying to chase after and secure a wild card spot in the National League. So we'll run through the standings there as well. And we got a lot more to talk about as well. And of course, we will have our Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. 2 and 4 last week. I kind of stunk. It always happens to me at the beginning of the year. It takes me a while to get going. So this is your chance, your best chance probably to get in on a drawing to win valuable prizes that we're going to give away the Wednesday after the national championship game. It's very simple. I'm going to pick 3 games against the spread, college, 3 pro this weekend. If you think you can pick those games better than me, and I know a handful of you have already, then you will be in that drawing if you can do that. There's easy ways to do it. Just drop me a line, sweetlou1965 at yahoo.com. Or if you follow me on X at The Real Captain Lou, give me your answers there. Or you can do it on 12ouncesports.com. It's that simple. There's a link that you can click to do that. Or on my Facebook pages, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and of course, 12 Ounce Sports and Lewis Gamlin. So it's that simple. It's a lot of fun. We get a lot of people involved, and it's a great way to win some prizes. We've got a $100 Visa gift card that we're going to be giving away at the end of the year. So make sure you stick around for that. We've got so much to talk about with that. We've got 3 games picked out for the college and the pros against the spread. We're going to go over that a little bit later on in the show, so make sure that you stick around for that. We'll talk about that probably after our NFL segment in the last portion of the show, or right about 40 minutes after. So make sure you tune in for that. So, because we're going to go through our NFL stuff probably in the second segment. We're going to go over college football to begin after the first break. So keep in mind on that. And of course, in the world of hockey, some great news and of course some very bad news this past weekend with the senseless death of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew Gaudreau, killed by a drunk driver this past weekend out bicycling. They were at a family member's wedding, or they were getting ready for that wedding, out bicycling, and got killed by a drunk driver. And so it maddens you to the core when you think about that. It doesn't have to be a professional athlete. It's anybody in this world that gets killed by a drunk driver. It's just senseless. It's stupid. And I have no sympathy for that guy. And he acted like a complete ass in the courtroom. He deserves every little bit. They should throw the book at him, and there should be no leniency. I'm sorry. When it comes to drunk driving, that is not a mistake. 2 + 2 = 5 is a mistake. That is not a mistake. That's just stupidity. And so our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts go out to Matthew Gaudreau's family. I know his wife was expecting their child. It's just it brings a tear to your eye, and it just makes you sick to your stomach when you think about stuff like that. And it just it's ugly. So our thoughts and prayers are out to them as well. And on the good side of the ledger for the NHL, Leon Draisaitl, 8 years, $112 million. Congratulations to him. He's going to be an Edmonton Oiler for a long time, as he should be. I agree with Philly Pete, our primetime host that you can see right before us at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays. He's on throughout the week. He's an Edmonton Oiler. He should be for the rest of his career. I honestly hope that they do win a cup, him and Connor McDavid. I know there's a lot of pressure on them out there in Edmonton. It's one of those big hockey cities in Canada, not only in North America. And you know what? He's a good guy, and I hope that I hope that someday maybe a cup can come to them if it can't come to Detroit. So what do you say? All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of college football. Week 1 in the books. We'll go through that and highlight a couple of the big games, only a couple of games between ranked teams. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live here on 12 Ounce Sports, Dingo TV, channel 217, and on our websites, of course, 12ouncesports.com, and our YouTube channels, 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network. Don't go anywhere.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
That's right. We are your ticket broker. We don't charge those fees that you see on some of those other secondary markets. It's that simple. We've got tickets for this weekend's games in college football and, of course, opening weekend of the 2024 regular season for the NFL. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. Get your seats for those. And there's a lot of great matchups, a lot of fun games this weekend. The NFL is going to be, it's ready to go, and it happens in about 25 hours from now. Kickoff at 8:20 here live from Kansas City. So, yeah, it's going to be on NBC, by the way. And so make sure that you go to tickets.12ouncesports.com. All right, college football week 1 happened this past weekend. Labor Day always has a handful of great games. And, of course, it did not disappoint right out of the chute. How about Georgia? We knew they were going to play. We told you last week right here on the show. They were one of the picks we got right on the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. They spotted Clemson. I think the line was 14 or 13.5, depending on where you went. It actually on Saturday dipped down to 10.5. Like taking candy from a baby on that one. One of the few ones that I got right this weekend. Hey, I'll be the first to admit it. You see a lot of these betting platforms where all they do is tout their winnings. They don't say when they lose, but I'll admit it was a rough weekend for me. But I wasn't wrong on that Georgia game against Clemson. Dabo Sweeney, he's not a bad guy, but he talks a lot. And you know what, Georgia, they let their talking be done on the field. Carson Beck looked good. That defense for Georgia, they just manhandled Clemson 34-3. It wasn't even close. Georgia right now looks like they're men playing with boys. And I know it's early. I get all that. But if they're not the consensus number one team in the land, I don't know who is. And, I see Ohio State got 5 votes for number one. And I'm thinking, what, really? I mean, yeah, they dismantled Akron, but that's Akron. And it wasn't really that close after the first half. If you're like me and in a parlay, if you took Akron and you got 48 points, boom, shakalaka. I mean, I know it was 52-6, but there was some late minute touchdowns to get even close to that spread. So Georgia, indeed, the number one team in the land, and they deserve all the ballyhoo right now. Their schedule is going to get tougher. I get it, but they're going to be, they're looking like the team to beat in the SEC for sure. I know Alabama looked good, but they didn't play anybody. Tennessee didn't play anybody. Ole Miss didn't play anybody. So, yeah, it's Georgia's for the taking, and I don't see anybody right now stepping on their toes. Notre Dame, obviously, I didn't pick that one right. I thought the 12th, that was, literally that was a coin flip game. If you watch the replay, which you can on the archives on our YouTube channels or whatever, you can see that I literally said it was a coin flip game. Well, it was a little more than a coin flip game. Notre Dame's defense came to play, and so it was a good game. I'm still not sold on Notre Dame's offense just yet, but here's the thing with Notre Dame. Now they've got an easy road to go, easy road to hoe to get into the playoffs. I mean, they've got 2 road games the rest of the year, I think. They've got some neutral site games, but those are against Army and Navy and Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech could give them a little bit of a push, but they got Florida State. Yeah, okay. I mean, they're proven to be fool's gold and then some. You talk about Fugazi. That's Florida State right now, unfortunately. And then you've got them going to USC at the end of the year. All right, before we give USC a spot in the college football playoff and a chance at the Big Ten championship game, it was 1 win. And I know we'll talk about it in a minute, but ND, they look good. They went down to Texas A&M, and I got to tell you, that is no easy feat, winning a game at the 12th man. And that's what they did against Texas A&M. So my hat's off to them. They did really well. So they're 1-0, and they're ranked in the top 5 in the country. Not quite sure I agree with that. Maybe they're top 10. I don't know. I mean, with Leonard at quarterback, it was really quite interesting, the matchup in that, of course, with Mike Elko, the head coach of Texas A&M, who used to coach at Duke or coached him at Duke. So, yeah, it was real interesting in that one, but Notre Dame looked pretty good in that one, so my hat's off to them. Talk about somebody that looked pretty good. How about Miami? 2.5-point favorite going to the Swamp against Florida. Yeah, okay. Boy, Miami looked good. Florida looked really bad. And Billy Napier, I tell you what, it's you talk about the seat getting a little warm. Down in the Swamp, it's getting very warm. Between there and Mike Norvell at Florida State, yeah, it's not too good down there right now in the state of Florida as far as a coaching pedigree or coaching resumes right now. They better get them polished up. Cam Ward, coming out party for him. He looked very impressive against Florida. Anytime you go to the Swamp and dominate like Miami did, you got to give them their flowers. They look pretty tough. And I got to tell you, they're looking like more and more like a lock for the ACC crown. And again, I know it's only 1 week. I totally get it. Sorry about that. Let me put my phone on silent there. It's one of those things, just a million things going on. They're give credit to Miami. They looked really good. Their defense looked good. But Cam Ward, I'll tell you what, don't sleep on him for the Heisman. I know it's only 1 game, but you got to start thinking about it, right? I mean, he's athletic. He can run, and he was pretty good with the arms. So we're going to keep an eye on Miami. The ACC isn't as difficult as one might think. Florida State, like I said, they're fool's gold. Clemson, they could rebound. Their season's not over, not like Florida State, but Clemson's only got one loss. So it'll come down to Miami and Clemson, no doubt about it, later on. And who knows, both of them may still get in. A lot to wait on, in the ACC, but Miami looked very, very impressive. And Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, he threw for 380 yards. I get it. He looked impressive, but the rest of the team didn't. And they struggled with Idaho. And I know Idaho's an FCS team and they're good, but this is FCS we're talking about here. This isn't a Power 5 or a Group of 5 team like Fresno State or Boise State or somebody like that. It's Idaho. And when you only win by 10 points against Idaho, that's kind of scary. And then one wonders what their defense is going to be like, or when they face a Big Ten defense out on the East Coast, Penn State or Michigan or Ohio State, when Ohio State comes calling out in Oregon. We'll keep an eye on that. So Oregon struggled a little bit, but it is the opening game, and you get their best shot. This is Idaho's Super Bowl. I understand. They didn't lose. So we'll keep an eye on them. But Dylan Gabriel had a game, 380 yards rather, and he looked pretty impressive. So we'll give the flowers to Oregon for winning barely. USC. Okay, you know me. I'm not a big Lincoln Riley guy. I don't think the guy knows what the word defense means. Sometimes I think defense means is what that thing is that goes around a yard. They gave up 20 points. So that's a moral victory right there. But they parlayed that into a win against LSU. And of course, everybody's got the pitchforks out for Brian Kelly at LSU. Just can't win the big one, they say. We've got a fellow broadcaster here on the network who wants him run out of town as fast as he can. Well, USC came to play. Miller Moss played with a chip on his shoulder. And I got to say, we talk about teams that are guys that had a coming out party. How about Miller Moss against LSU? He waited, he waited, for Caleb Williams, waited for him in his 2 years. Now he's gone. Miller Moss put in some monster numbers, and I'll tell you what, that's a big win. And what I like about it, you have all this media coverage. No fault to Caleb Williams. When you got guys like Colin Cowherd and all the four-letter networks just, singing praises and falling all over himself for Caleb Williams all these years, and he didn't win a big game. And of course, they're making excuses like Carter's got liver pills. Now you got a guy like Miller Moss who comes in and wins a big game in prime time. I'll tell you what, he keeps that up, he's going to make a lot of people forget about Caleb Williams real fast should USC do what they couldn't do and get into the playoff. I know it's a long time yet, and they got to go through the gauntlet that is the Big Ten. This isn't the Pac-12 where they didn't play a whole lot of defense out there last year, and they took care of LSU. Nussmeier is going to be a good quarterback too. Like everybody else has been saying about those two quarterbacks, I loved how they both waited their turn. They didn't hit the transfer portal when the going got tough. They waited for their turn, and now it's their time to shine, and they're taking advantage of it. Unfortunately for Nussmeier at LSU, they didn't come out on top, but he still had a pretty good game. They had the lead going into the fourth quarter. This one shocked me. I fell asleep watching it Sunday night. I'll be, truth be told. And when I woke up, I saw the score. I was surprised. I thought LSU, they had the ball going into the fourth quarter. I thought for sure they're going to pull it out. So I give credit to USC. They came to play, and it was a neutral site game. I get it. They've still got some road games they got to come up with. They got to come out to Ann Arbor. They've got to play Penn State. They've got Oregon. They've got Washington. There's going to be some big games for them. If they go through the gauntlet, just like anybody else, then they deserve to get into the playoff. And see, that's the thing that I love about the college football playoff is you're going to get 12 teams. A team will stub their toe and lose a game, and they're still not out of it. Unless you're like a group of 5 school. But let's be honest here. That's not what this college football playoff is really designed for. Let's call it what it is. It's designed for the big boys. And, and so you stub your toe in a game, you got a chance. A team like Michigan or Penn State or Alabama or Georgia or whoever, that may lose a game during the regular season, they can still get in if they run the table or even with a couple of losses. That makes things very interesting. So that's the beauty of this 12-team tournament. And, obviously the first thing is going to be the 4 locks. And getting back to Notre Dame, that's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. Should they run the table with that cupcake schedule that they've got? Let's say they go 12-0 or 11-1 with a loss to USC. If they're 12-0, do they get one of the 4 automatic berths? Do they get penalized for not technically being in a conference? I think they should be, especially with that schedule. You're telling me that they deserve it over a Georgia team that wins the conference, excuse me, or Ohio State or Michigan or Utah or Miami? I don't think so. They can get a home game in the opening round of the playoff. That should be where it stands. Join a conference. That's the way I look at it. They've been Notre Dame has been coddled, with their history for the last 150 years or whatever it's been since they started playing college football. And they've got the history. Nobody loves history more than I do when it comes to sports and anything else. But if I can change and adapt with the times, then sooner or later they're going to have to. And I think maybe something where they go undefeated and they don't get one of those 4 berths is like, well, maybe we should think again about joining a conference or a full time like the ACC. So keep an eye on that. I know I digress. Happens a lot here on the show, by the way. So I know we kind of jump all over when it comes to college football. Other games we talked about: Michigan taking on Fresno State this past weekend. It's the quarterback situation, obviously, is going to be on everybody's mind coming into this weekend against Texas. Davis Warren, he played okay. They woke up a little bit towards the end. I think they wore Fresno State down a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. Defense obviously looked very, very strong. Got the pick 6 for a touchdown. Only gave up 10 points. It was kind of a surprise last Saturday afternoon to see Davis Warren get named the starting quarterback. But if you listen to Sharon Moore, he earned it in practice. And that's how it's supposed to go, I guess. So he looked okay. Didn't look great. Michigan's offensive line, obviously very young. Donovan Edwards, it's still a mystery. It seems like he's slow out of the gate. We'll see how his performance affects him going forward. Mullins looked pretty good, but they're going to need it all this week. Big Bad Texas is coming to town on Saturday. Fox's game day is going to be there. ESPN's is going to be there. It's going to be the national spotlight. You've got you've got Texas coming in 3rd ranked in the country. You've got Quentin Ewers and, of course, Arch Manning is backup. You've got a very solid defense and, of course, an offense. It's going to be interesting to watch Steve Sarkisian come into town, see what they can do against Michigan's defense. I think the line is 7.5 right now, and that's tough. More than a touchdown is hard to give on the road. Michigan is a 7.5 point underdog at home, I should say, which, is not super surprising. But I got a feeling that might be in our Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So that's kind of a look at the what's going on in the world of college football. Real quick, Florida State, we talked about it. Yeah, it's one of the more overrated teams coming in, of course, undefeated last year. They lost so many players. They got crushed by Boston College at home. Ugly, ugly game for them. They're 0-2. Forget about it. Penn State with a big win on the road. A rivalry game against West Virginia. I'll tell you what, that's impressive. I'm not the biggest James Franklin fan because he quite hasn't won a big one yet. But, he who knows? So congratulations to Penn State. They're 1-0, and they look to try to keep that going. And finally, the other ranked game that we wanted to point out real quick before we go to break, Tennessee plays at NC State, 15 against 24. Something tells me we might have that on the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to the pros. Well, technically the pros anyways. The NFL week 1 coming right up. Right after this, you're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live here on Dingo TV, Channel 217, XTV, and of course, we are live on 12 Ounce Sports. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports, Dingo TV, channel 217, and of course, all of our media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're everywhere. Follow us everywhere on those media outlets. Of course, at the Real Captain Lou on Twitter or X, at 12 Ounce Sports. Follow us on Facebook, 12 Ounce Sports, the Captain Lou Extravaganza. You name it, we're there. We're on Twitch, social media galore. That's 12 Ounce Sports. And of course, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, where you can also listen to the audio version with this on podcast form on Spotify. It'll be available in a couple of days. All right. NFL is back week 1. Welcome back to the NFL now. No more play games, no more scrimmages, whatever you want to call it. Week 1 is here. We talked about it at the top. Kansas City and Baltimore. They'll do battle tomorrow night. Kansas City looking for their three-peat Super Bowl championships. I guess you could say a quest for 3 in a row. It's never been done in the Super Bowl era. The closest that's been done was just about 60 years ago with the Green Bay Packers. Did it twice in the decade. So that dynasty back then, Kansas City looking to be the first one to win 3 straight Super Bowls. But first, they've got a home matchup, a rematch of the AFC Championship game against Baltimore. Last year, of course, they opened up against the Detroit Lions. The Lions beat them when they unveiled the Super Bowl banner. So we'll see if Baltimore can match that feat against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Something tells me that the Chiefs are not going to want that to happen again. I like Kansas City in that game, by the way. And Friday night in Brazil, it's going to be Green Bay and Philadelphia doing battle in Sao Paulo. And it's weird. It's just, we talk about it. It's supposed to be a spectacular. It's you want to have all your players out and mingling with the fans, doing this and that. Grow the game worldwide. Well, the players have been told to stay in their hotels, not go anywhere. The families have been told not to go. And it's just like, it's just a weird vibe. If I'm a player, I'm like, no, I wouldn't want to go. You're giving up a home game. You're traveling down there on a Friday night. It's just a weird setup, and I get it. We all know why they're doing it. They're doing it for the money. No doubt about it. So, I mean, I don't get it. Whatever. So it's just, I don't think the players want to be there. And so we'll have to wait and see on that. All right. Sunday night, of course, the big matchup on Sunday Night Football, the rematch of the opening round of the playoffs between the LA Rams and the Detroit Lions. It's going to be a rematch again at Ford Field. And I got to tell you, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. As I've told you many times here on the show, and I was there for that playoff game. And, my hope of hopes, obviously, as a long-suffering Lions fan, is for the Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl, right? Well, you've got a playoff setting like they had last year. It had been 32 years since Detroit hosted a playoff game in the NFL. And they brought it. The fans brought it. I mean, and the Lions brought it. They won 2 playoff games at home. First time that's ever happened, in a long, long time. I don't know, even back in the 50s when they only had 1 game. So, the Lions broke some history barriers. Now they want to take that next step. But LA's got something to think about. They've got something to say about it. And it's kind of crazy. The Los Angeles Rams, the over-under on wins for them is 8.5. I think it's minus 160. It's not a great bet to go over. But I got a feeling that I just think that's awfully low. And so a little bit scared. Matt Stafford, he wants revenge coming back to Detroit after what happened last year in the playoffs. Both he and Sean McVay said it was one of the most electric atmospheres that they'd ever been involved in. And I got to tell you, the Lions could be the new 12th man. It's going to be rocking. They were sold out for their preseason game against Pittsburgh. Sold out, and the crowd caused a couple of false start penalties and delay of games. It is going to be absolutely obnoxiously loud in Detroit on Sunday night. Can't wait to see that one. It's going to be such a fun atmosphere for the Lions. Let's hope that they can keep it going. The Rams, like I said, they're going to have something to say about that. That's going to be one heck of a matchup. And of course, Monday night, Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets invade San Francisco to take on the 49ers. That game started at -6 for San Francisco. Now I think it's down to 4.5 or maybe 4. So a lot of the sharps are putting their money on Green Bay to cover, the New York Jets to cover. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. as Aaron Rodgers makes his return after his Achilles surgery after just 4 plays in their opening game. So it'll be see, whenever I think of Aaron Rodgers, I still can't think of him in the New York Jets green. It's always the Green Bay green. It's the Jets and the 49ers on Monday Night Football. So that amongst all the other games, there's going to be it's a fun weekend for NFL starting tomorrow night against Kansas City against Baltimore at Arrowhead as they unveil the next Super Bowl flag, or the latest Super Bowl banner that they won last year against the San Francisco 49ers. All right, we're going to take a quick look around the league. Well, what we think is going to happen in all the divisions, all 8 divisions. Let's start out with the AFC. Everybody's going on the New York Jets bandwagon, or a good portion of them. They're thinking, the Jets, the Jets, Jets, they're going to be playoff ball, and they're going to win that division. Buffalo's had their run. They're done. I just don't see it. Miami, there's something about Miami. I know they're going to have their defense, I think, is a little underrated. I picked them on my fantasy league team last night. I think I'm going to start them against Jacksonville on Sunday, but there's just something missing there. I don't know if it's the running game. Until Buffalo gets knocked off, I'm going with the Bills. There's just something about the Buffalo Bills that makes me think they're going to win that division again. They're not quite as good as they were. I'm not sold on the Jets. I'm not sold on Aaron Rodgers coming back. He'll be good. And they've got Garrett Wilson. He's going to get a lot of targets and a lot of yards. But there's just something about their offense that I'm just don't know if they're going to click. Give me Buffalo in that division. It's going to be tight. I think Buffalo's going to win it with a 10-7 record. So give me the Buffalo Bills in that division. Baltimore, I've thought a lot about this in the AFC North. You've got Cincinnati with Joe Burrow coming back. He's healthy. Looks like Jamar Chase is going to be there, and he's going to be signed by Thursday because he practiced today. He was in uniform. Cleveland, they're never healthy, and that's just it. Baltimore is the healthiest every year. Pittsburgh, I think they're on a tailspin. You've got Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback. That doesn't exactly make me want to go to Vegas and put, the house payment on them to win that division. The Ravens, they've got Lamar Jackson. They've got some weapons on offense, and their defense is going to be enough. I just don't see, they're, like I said, they're the healthiest. That's why I'm picking Baltimore to win that division. Give me the Baltimore Ravens slightly over the Cincinnati Bengals. I think these two teams, it could come to a tiebreaker. I could see 11 wins for each team, maybe 12 for Baltimore. AFC South, Indianapolis is the sexy pick. Anthony Richardson's coming back from his knee injury. You've got C.J. Stroud. Will he get the sophomore jinx? They got a lot of young weapons there. One thing that concerns me is the pariah, that being Stephon Diggs. I'm not sold on Stephon Diggs at all. I really am not. He's been a cancer. He was a cancer in Buffalo, and I think that's another reason why you might see Buffalo still win that division. He's out of there. The guy's got a million excuses. Well, he's now in Houston, and that's going to be one of the question marks to see how well he meshes with those guys. And let's see how he handles not being the number one guy there. I love Tank Dell, Nico Collins. They've got a very solid running game. And so they got Dalton Schultz at tight end. I'm telling you, this is not a bad team, and I think they're going to win the division again. Indianapolis might be able to secure a wild card spot, but give me the Houston Texans in that division. I think Houston's going to fly past Indy. And then the AFC West, need I say any more? It's Kansas City. You talk about a scenario where until they get knocked off, you got to go with the Chiefs. Jim Harbaugh is going to do some great things in LA with the Chargers, but he's not quite there yet. They've got Justin Herbert, and they got some rookies. Look out for McConkey. I think he could be a candidate for Rookie of the Year, along with Keon Coleman of the Buffalo Bills. Those are the two that I'm going to keep an eye on this year in the AFC. In Denver, Bo Nix is decent. Sean Payton, the smartest coach in the NFL. Just ask him. But they're young, and I don't think they're there. And the Raiders are a mess. The Raiders could be in line for the number one pick in the draft next year. God bless Gardner Minshew. I hope he does well there. I think he's a cool story. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders, but it's Kansas City. Need I say any more? All right, the NFC West. This one's going to be a dogfight. I know San Francisco went to the Super Bowl last year. Brock Purdy's the man. I get it. They've got Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I get all that. They're loaded. Their defense is good, but you can move the ball on their defense. Detroit proved that. They just had one drop pass in that third quarter from going to the Super Bowl. You can move on that defense. And so I like the weapons on LA. They've got a very, very good quarterback obviously in Matt Stafford. They've got Kyron Williams. They've got, the name, Nakua, Cooper Kupp. I mean, they've got some weapons there, and their defense is coming around. I think that might be what ends up winning it for San Francisco is they just have a hair better defense. It's going to be close in that division. The over-under is 8.5 for wins for LA. Bet the over on that. I'm going to. I mean, they're going to get 9 wins. I mean, they're not going to win the first week against the Lions, but at least I hope not. But they're going to be right there at the end. I love the Rams, that over-under at 8.5. It's going to be right down to the end in that division. In the AFC East, Philadelphia is looking for redemption. You talk about a team that took a tailspin. The only one worse last year, I think, was Jacksonville. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to be back. They're going to win that division by default. Dallas, I get it. They've got CeeDee Lamb all locked up. All that money they spent on him. But they got Dak Prescott. I mean, the guy wins, quite a few regular season games. He doesn't show up in the playoffs. Their defense is old. I mean, I know they got Micah Parsons. I understand that. They're going to have to sign him to a mega load of money. But, Mike McCarthy, he's going to be playing with his head looking over his shoulder. He makes a mistake. He might be gone by mid-year. You never know with Jerry Jones. And, when they're going to count on Zeke Elliott to help out in the running game and Dalvin Cook, I don't know, man. I just don't see it. Washington, Jaden Daniels, I think he could be the rookie of the year in the NFL or at least in the NFC. Watch out for the Washington Commanders. They're starting all brand new ownership, the whole bit. Keep an eye on the Commanders. They could surprise and win 8 or 9 games. They're not going to win the division, but they're going to be pretty decent. And they're going to be a headache to Philadelphia and Dallas. Of course, the Giants. And Giants, I don't know. I watched Hard Knocks. I feel for them. I really do. But there's a reason Saquon Barkley left there. And I just don't think Daniel Jones is the answer. I'm sorry. I don't see it. In the NFC South, I'm on the bandwagon. I'm on the Falcons bandwagon. Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to have a good year. He's got some weapons. He's got Kyle Pitts. They've got Bijan Robinson. I think they're going to win. They're going to win 10 games. That'll be enough to win that division. I'm not overly excited about their defense, but they're going to win 10 games, and I think that's going to be enough to win their division. So, give me the Falcons over Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. I think they won that division by default last year because I don't think any of the other teams are good. And the Saints, I think, are they're in free fall, and I don't know. The jury's out on Bryce Young. I mean, for him, I hope he does better. They don't have a whole lot around him yet. That's why I worry about them. But it's either Atlanta or Tampa Bay. Give me Atlanta in that one. 10-7, 9-8 might even win that division. And the NFC North, of course, I got to go with Detroit. Biting kneecaps all the way up. Green Bay is going to be good. Are they going to be able to? Is Jordan Love, now that he's got that fat contract, is he going to be able to keep up what he did last year? We'll keep an eye on that as well. Minnesota, without, they've got Sam Darnold. He'll win them some ball games, but I don't think he's going to be quite there. And Caleb Williams, he's everybody's sexy pick. Chicago, they're on the come, right? They've got DJ Moore. They've got Roma Dunze. They've got Cole Kmet. They've got DeAndre Swift. I mean, they've got some weapons. Here's my big question for Chicago. Are they going to be able to block for them? If they get any kind of offensive line play, they'll be decent. They're going to be fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. Chicago is about a year or two away from getting back to, to really being a serious contender in the NFL. So, but not this year. This is Detroit's year. I think they're going to win the division. They're going to win 12 games again, at least. So give it to the Lions. But it starts on Sunday night. They've got 2 big games with them in Tampa. Then they got a Monday night game against Seattle 2 weeks after that. So first 4 games are going to be very telling for the Lions. They got a difficult schedule. All right, so those are our division winners, wild card teams. I'm telling you what, give me Cincinnati, give me Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to win 10 games, and that's going to be enough to get a wild card spot. Indianapolis, too. This is a hunch. I'm going out on a limb with Indianapolis. I think they could win 10 games. 9-8 might get them in as a wild card in a crazy, crazy AFC. So those are my three wild card teams in the AFC. In the NFC, the Rams, like I said, they could win 11 games, not win the division. Green Bay, I think they're going to win 10 games, 9 or 10 games. And yes, I'll let Dallas in. Maybe Tampa squeezes them out. I don't know. Or maybe a Seattle or somebody. Chicago, maybe, but I just don't see it. Like I said, I think they're a year away. Dallas gets in. They don't win the division, but they get in. And I don't know if that'll be enough to save Mike McCarthy's job. I think if he doesn't get to the Super Bowl, he's done. Because I think this is going to be the last year you see Dak Prescott in a Dallas uniform. I think he's going to go to the Raiders next year. They're going to throw out they're going to throw the Brinks truck. They're going to throw the casino money at him big time. Try to get him to go to the Raiders next year. So those are my wild card teams. And of course, how about my Super Bowl pick? Let's go with the Lions, man. The drought's over. Why not? I'm drinking the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid, baby. Lions over Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Kansas City's three-peat bid falls just short. All right, that's a kind of a look at the NFL. We're going to take a break. We come back. Yes, indeed, it's time for the Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge, so don't go anywhere. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and it's live here on Dingo TV, channel 217, XTV, and, of course, 12-ounce sports. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12-ounce sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12-ounce sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
That's right. Again, don't forget, we are your ticket broker. And, we don't charge those crazy fees you see on some of those other secondary markets. The big NFL games this weekend, Major League Baseball, the pennant races are heating up. Our Detroit Tigers are only 4.5 games out of a wild card. New York and Baltimore neck and neck in the AL East. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. It's that simple. I don't have to tell you anymore, do I? It's tickets.12ouncesports.com. All right. It's that time right now. Let's get to another edition of the Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge. 2-4 last week. I get it. I didn't do very good. That was your chance to get ahead of me and get your name in the drawing right away for the Visa gift card at the end of the year. Coming up in October, we'll announce some bigger prizes. So I'm telling you, get in while you can, because once I get rolling, it's tougher to get qualified. If you can beat the picks that I make on the same 6 games and you have to use the same spread, then you're going to be in the drawing. And it's easy. There's no purchase necessary to do this, by the way. All you got to do is make sure that drop me a line with an email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com. Or if you follow me on Twitter or X, give me your picks there. You can do it DM style or whatever. Go to 12ouncesports.com and download them there. There's a link there for that. Or follow me on Facebook at the Captain Lou Extravaganza, or even on 12-ounce sports. Do it that way. And we'll get you signed up for some great, great prizes. It's that simple. So, okay, now how it works. I'm going to take 3 games for the pros, 3 games for college, and I'm going to pick them against the spread. And if you think you can beat those games, then you're in. It's that simple. All right, let's start out with the pros. I've got the LA Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Chargers at home, -3. So basically it's a coin toss. Give me the Chargers. Give me Jim Harbaugh and give me Justin Herbert in the home opener. The Chargers, 3-point favorites. I think they're going to win by at least 7. Give me that one. I think it's going to be 28-21. I love the Chargers in this one. And again, it should be a fun game to watch. But I think the Chargers, they're not going to win a ton of games, but they're going to win this one against the Raiders. I think they're much better. All right, we're going to go to Monday Night Football for our next one. San Francisco 49ers, 4.5-point favorites. It was at 6. I know, like the last 41 Monday Night Football opening dogs are 29, 12, and 1, or so the last 42, whatever. I like the 49ers at this line. It's been the sharp money's been going on the Jets. It started out as a 6-point spread down to 4.5. This is where I take the 49ers. I think they win this one somewhere along the lines of 33-27 or maybe 27-21 in this one. Give me the 49ers. I know Aaron Rodgers is going to be fired up going to San Francisco. First game back after the Achilles injury last year on opening day. Give me the 49ers, though, at home to win this one over the Jets. And the 49ers will win this one 27-21, 4.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the 49ers. And this one could be my lock of the week in the NFL. Atlanta, 3.5-point favorite at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's defense is okay, but I'm sure as hell not sold on Russell Wilson and that offense in Pittsburgh. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to have a field day against Pittsburgh. This one's going to be a double-digit win for Atlanta. I'm going out on a limb right now. Give me Atlanta in this one by the score of 28-14 or 27-14 or whatever. Give me Atlanta going away on this one. This one's going to be an easy one. Give me the Falcons minus 3.5 against Pittsburgh. All right, let's go to the college side now. Our first matchup on the college side, Iowa State. Hey, let's have a concert, or let's have a parade. Iowa scored 40 points last week. Cade McNamara, the Michigan Flash, is in Iowa now for his last year, supposedly. They're only a 3-point favorite at home against Iowa State. Kirk Ferentz will be back as he served a 1-game suspension. Maybe that's why they scored 40 points. I know it was Eastern Illinois or Illinois State or whatever, but I think they can beat Iowa State at home. The spread's only 3, so it's a toss-up. Give me the Hawkeyes in the Big Ten in this one. Minus 3 at home against Iowa State and the Cyclones. I like Iowa in this one. It could be less than a touchdown, but they're going to cover. And they're going to win. All right, the next one of the 2 games with ranked opponents taking on each other. Number 14, Tennessee, and number 24, NC State. This one, I went back and forth on this one. I don't think Tennessee really played anybody, obviously. North Carolina State getting 8 points at home. Now, I know I did it last week with West Virginia getting 8 against Penn State, but I think Penn State's better than Tennessee. NC State, they want to show the SEC that, they're no slouch over there. The ACC, they're bruised right now. They're battered. Their ego has taken a massive hit. This is where NC State can come in and they can prove that they're worthy. They may not win. 8 points is a lot. I'm taking NC State getting 8 points at home against Tennessee. And then the big one in Ann Arbor, high noon, Saturday. Number 3, Texas, number 10, Michigan. All the pregame shows are going to be there on the 4-letter network and the 3-letter network. Michigan is a 7.5-point dog at home. It's been a long time. It's been back since when Ohio State used to come in as double-digit favorites on the road into Ann Arbor. Texas is going to bring in Quentin Ewers and Steve Sarkisian and his offensive schemes against this very, very good Michigan defense. The question mark obviously is going to be, can Michigan's offense play much better than they did against Fresno State? Now, granted, this is not Fresno State, but this is 7.5 points, the national spotlight. I'm not sure if Michigan can win this game. I mean, I hope they do, obviously, but I just don't. 7.5's a lot. A touchdown underdog at home. We'll see if they're worthy of their 10th, number 10 ranking. Michigan pulls this off. They win this one, straight up. They're going to be a top 5 team. They'll answer a lot of questions, but those questions that Davis Warren and Alex Orji gave us after that game makes me very worried about this one. I had to use this game. You got to do it. I'm going to take the Wolverines and the points at home against Texas. Texas may win this one, but it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 game, something in that nature, 26-23. Give me Texas winning, but give me Michigan covering the 7.5. All right, so that's the Captain Lou six-pack challenge. There's the picks right there on the screen. Michigan plus 7.5 against Texas. NC State plus 8 at home against Tennessee. Iowa at home -3 against Iowa State. And on the NFL side, give me San Francisco -4.5 on Monday night at home against the Jets. Give me the Chargers -3 at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. And give me Atlanta -3.5 at home against Pittsburgh. Again, how this works, one more time, is if you think you can pick these games better than me, it has to be these games and it has to be these spreads. I always pick Saturday and Sunday games. It gives you a couple of days maybe to think about it a little bit. The spreads don't change. You can't say, hey, Lou, I got Kansas City, or I've got Atlanta -2.5. No. It's 3.5. If I've got to use that line, so do you. But if you pick those games better than me, then you're in the drawing for a $100 Visa gift card. It's that simple. And again, what you need to do is go give me your picks. Drop me an email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com. Follow me on X at The Real Captain Lou. Follow our Facebook page, The Captain Lou Extravaganza, or Lewis Gamblin on Facebook. So super easy. Or click the link at 12 Ounce Sports on the bottom of the page. It's that easy. And you can be right there. You'll be registered. And who knows? You can do it every week. You can beat me 10 times this year. Who knows? But like I said, I'm a lot easier to beat at the beginning. My picks usually aren't that good, but towards the end, man, I get hot, just like last year. I ended up on the plus side. I ended up like 56% last year, which any better will tell you that's not too BAD. So get me while you can. I was 2-4 last week. The big one was Georgia. So yeah, so let's have some fun with it. Why don't you be a part of it? I know you'll like it. It is indeed a lot of fun. Major League Baseball. Let's take a quick look at that. We've got a few minutes left of the show here. If I can scroll down here a little bit. Major League Baseball standings. We talk about them each week on the show. We're down to less than a month. We've got about 22 games left for a lot of the teams. Baltimore with the win yesterday. Going into today, they've got a half-game lead over the New York Yankees in the American League East, 81 up, 59 down. The Cleveland Guardians, they've won 3 straight. They're now 80 and 59. They lead the the American League Central by 4.5 over the Twins and 5.5 over Kansas City, who's lost 7 straight. The Tigers are 10 games out, but only 4.5 games out of the wild card. Keep an eye on that. Houston, they've lengthened their lead now 6.5 games over the Seattle Mariners. Seattle, who was up 9 games at one point earlier, maybe even 10 games. They're now under 500. The free fall is going in Seattle right now, along with Kansas City. It's crazy to think. But Kansas City last week, as a matter of fact, was tied for first in the American League Central. Now they're 5.5 games out. They were tied a week ago. How crazy is that? That's how the fortunes can change with less than a month to go in Major League Baseball. In the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies now 7 games up, 82 and 56 is their record. They are, as I mentioned, 7 up on the Braves, 7.5 on the Mets. Keep an eye on that. The Mets only a half game behind the Braves for that last playoff spot. In the American League Central, Milwaukee, their lead is now back to double digits, 81 and 58. They're trying to catch the Dodgers for the best record in Major League Baseball to get that opening round bye. They've got the Chicago Cubs trailing them by 10, St. Louis by 11, and it's a 4.5 game lead for Atlanta over the Cubs now in that battle for the last playoff spot. And in the National League West, the Dodgers, we mentioned, 84 and 55, 5.5 games up on the Padres, 6 up on the Diamondbacks. Those two teams looking pretty good so far for a playoff berth with the first and second wildcard spots, respectively. So we'll keep an eye on that as well as the Padres and the Diamondbacks, 5.5 and 6 consecutively in Major League Baseball. And of course, the watch for the home run lead and the home run record in the American League for the Judge, Aaron Judge. He's, I think he was at 53. He's got 10 to go. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So, and then finally, we talked about it at the top of the show a couple of minutes. Again, sad news in the world of the National Hockey League. Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey with the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were killed last weekend riding their bicycles in New Jersey. They were getting set to go to a family wedding, and they were killed by a drunk driver. Just sad, sad news. And you don't want to see that happen to anybody, an athlete, anybody. It's senseless. And, the drunk driver, he acted like an ass in court. If they could throw the book as hard as they could at him, it wouldn't be enough. Two senseless deaths. Our hearts, our prayers, and our thoughts go out to the families of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. And Matthew Gaudreau, he was married with a baby on the way as well. So it's just sad, sad news in the world of hockey. And also Leon Draisaitl, as we mentioned, on the good side of hockey, Leon Draisaitl signed an 8-year, $112 million contract with the Edmonton Oilers, an extension. He's going to be an Edmonton Oiler for probably the rest of his career. He's got a no-trade clause in his contract. It's front-loaded. Good for him. It's good to see him in Edmonton. I agree. I think he should be an Oiler for life. So congratulations for him getting the life-changing contract. So we'll see if that can turn into a Stanley Cup for him and Connor McDavid out in Edmonton. All right. Hey, this has been fun. The the year's flown by so far. The hour has flown by. We're just about up against it. So again, a reminder, be a part of the Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge. Let's bring that graphic up real quick before we say goodnight. The Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge, here's our picks. Michigan plus 7.5 at home against Texas. NC State plus 8 against Tennessee at home. Iowa -3 versus Iowa State. San Francisco -4.5 versus the Jets. The Chargers -3 against the Raiders at home. And Atlanta at home laying 3.5 against Pittsburgh. Those are the games I pick. You pick those games better than me, you're in the drawing for some great prizes at the end of the year. And it's going to be, we've had a lot of fun with this. And again, we're going to have a lot more fun this year with that as well. Hey, a reminder too, coming up on the network here in the near weeks, it's the 9th season of the ACHA Power Play. We have a lively discussion every other week on Tuesday nights where we bring coaches from the American Collegiate Hockey Association, administrators, broadcasters. The road to St. Louis in 2025 starts in September on the ACHA Power Play Season 9 right here on 12 Ounce Sports. All right, college football takes center stage with Michigan and Texas, high noon on Saturday, but even more big time, it's week 1 of the NFL coming up. Kansas City and Baltimore kick off in about 24 hours and 20 minutes on NBC. And then the Friday game in Brazil, Green Bay and Philadelphia. Then again, a huge slate of games, including the Sunday night affair rematch at Ford Field, the new 12th man, as the Detroit Lions take on the LA Rams in a rematch of last year's wild card game. And it should be just an absolute electric affair there in Detroit. All right, that's going to do it, everybody. Thanks for bringing us into your homes and on your computers tonight. We really do appreciate it. Captain Lou saying so long until next Wednesday. And this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Have a great weekend, everybody. So long.